Welcome back, everybody. A special edition of CTV Morning Live as we deal with the issue of sexual abuse against children. There's Christopher's Law, the Ontario Sex Offender Registry, created as a result of the abduction and murder of 11-year-old Christopher Stevenson back in 1988. By the way, Ontario, the first jurisdiction in the country to establish a sex offender registry. We're back with our panel, Dr. Federoff, Shelley Glover, and Sergeant Webster. And ask you a couple of pointed questions, and it was interesting the kind of questions we got previous to today's program and during it from our viewers who are interested in this topic, and there are many of them. Annette Gerner is downstairs taking a look at some of those questions. Annette, what do you have for us?
Yes, Kurt, we have a question that came in from one viewer on our Facebook page that says, why don't they, referring to offenders, go seek help prior to ruining the lives of little children? If they know they have these inclinations, why not seek help before creating victims?
This is an interesting quandary for sex offenders, no question about it, Dr. Federoff. Why don't, if you know you have these inclinations, these desires, whatever they might be, why don't you stop yourself and go get help right away before you do anything?
Good question. And the answer that I can tell you is that most people who have abnormal interests think that if they come for help, they're going to be arrested. And in fact, if they come for help, it doesn't mean that they're going to be necessarily arrested. The second thing is that a lot of them think that there either is no treatment or that treatment doesn't work. And in fact, we do have treatment. We can see people very quickly if they do come in, and the treatment works almost always.
It's interesting, that people would wonder, why people don't go ahead and get some help. But I can understand that perspective, that you believe, and police would understand it, right? That you believe that you are going to be in a big heap of trouble, even though you may have done nothing at this point, even for having those thoughts.
Right.
We've got other questions to deal with as well. Annette Gerner, what's our next question?
And Kurt, this is a question that came to us from several viewers. It seems to be a popular one. Is there a time limit to press charges?
Well, let's ask our current police officer and our former police officer. Is there a time limit? And I believe in this country there is no time limit for this sort of thing.
No, in Canada there's no statute of limitations, and I think it's a popular question because in the United States there are, depending on the state, statute of limitations of how long,
depending
how much
on the
time
crime?
can pass, depending on the crime.
Right,
so I think
murder is 7 years or something. This is the sort of thing we get from television land, I think, and watching crime shows, that we believe in this country there's also a statute of limitations, but there's not.
There's not, and thank goodness, because we've got a lot of historical abuse cases.
Well, exactly, and that's why we see so many of these going back decades upon decades before any charges or anything comes to light. All right, very good question, though. Do we have any others, Annette?
We do, Kurt. Yes, this is another one, perhaps for Dr. Federoff. Why don't they castrate repeat offenders?
Wow, that's directly to the point. Why don't they castrate repeat offenders?
Well, the actual answer is because castration is not the most effective treatment. It turns out that medications we have actually suppress testosterone more effectively than surgical castration.
Really? Really? So that combined with therapy and so on is effective?
Right. As well, therapy is all voluntary, and men tend not to be keen on volunteering to be surgically castrated.
No, that's a good point as well. We have another question, Annette.
Yes, this one coming on from our Facebook page, perhaps for MP Shelley Glover. I think we should have sex offender databases like they do in the US, where you can see where these people live and if they are in your neighborhood. Right now, we have no idea.
And I thank her for the question. And as I said before, we actually do in Manitoba have community notifications where we actually put out a release through the media to advise people in different regions that a sex offender who's at high risk to reoffend is in fact being released because they've met all of the conditions that were imposed. When we talk about the sex offender registry itself that we have in Canada, though, it is only available to police. And as Dr. Federoff said, there are some success stories where these folks do go on to become cured, if you want to call it, or they at least are able to suppress those feelings. So So again, we don't want to see vigilantism, but we do want to make sure that the community has information so that they can protect themselves, so community notifications are used.
Is there pressure from residents in this country to have a sexual database that's available for everyone and all to see?
There has been some pressure, absolutely, but again, we have to balance the need of the community with the needs of the country, and the sex offender registry has been enhanced in many, many ways so that police have the tools to prevent these crimes from happening before they happen. And of course, we've got an awful lot of treatment available, not just in jail, as I said before, but through doctors like Dr. Federoff.
Would having a registry like that open to the public jeopardize treatment?
Yes, we know that from the United States, where they have a lot of difficulty in keeping people in treatment. And that's because if your name is published on the web, you tend to lose your job. You
can't progress.
You get kicked out of your building. You can't get to therapy. So we actually think that what's important, of course, is to keep track of offenders, and for people who need to know to be able to access that information. But in general, for the general population to know it probably is not as helpful as it could be.
Yeah, we have to run, but as long as these individuals are monitored, maybe that's the key to success in this
And we've
area.
strengthened that too.
Yeah, yeah, no question. Dr. Federoff, MP Shelley Glover, and Sergeant Webster, thanks for joining our panel, and thanks for being here today.
Thank you.
Thanks.